Hello, and welcome to The Porch with Alicia Barlow. Hi, I'm Alicia Barlow, author of The Porch, a place for enjoyment, conversation with people, reflection, and encouragement. Hello, it's Alicia here with The Porch, and I am here with Antoinet Webster.
Yes.
I met Miss Webster, maybe a month or two ago at an event put on by Possibilities Incorporated. And I tell you, you have just really touched my heart. I mean, you have aspirations, and you really are wanting to do some things. You have a passion for your vision, which is wonderful. And it's wonderful to see that in such a young person. Antoinet has a vision of developing a mini market. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But let's kind of find out who Antoinet is, you know? Tell us about yourself a little bit.
So just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here in Oklahoma City. Starting out on the northeast side of Oklahoma City, 9 years old, I moved to the west side of Oklahoma City, attending Western Heights High School throughout my elementary, middle school, and high school years. Come from a very large family, from both my mother and my father's side. We're all from Oklahoma City. Of course, we have roots that tie back to Michigan, Atlanta, North Carolina, California. Okay, we have roots all over the place.
All over.
But yeah, I am an Oklahoma City native. As I mentioned, come from a very big family. So I am an aunt to several. I am a sister. I am a daughter. I am a granddaughter. I am a friend, and so much more.
All right. You're a graduate of Western Heights High School. And I spoke with you over the weekend. And at the time, you were telling me that you were hosting, not just participating in, but you were hosting an alumni basketball tournament. Yes. Now, how did that come about, and why did you decide to do something of that sort?
So with basketball, for those of you who do not know, basketball, I would like to say, was my first love. It was a sport that I grew a strong connection to at a very young age. You know, I also did karate. I did karate for about 5 years, earning a second-degree black belt. From then, when you kind of advance out, I grew a connection to basketball. So at the age of 7, I had been playing basketball at a competitive level. I think I was about 12 years old. So being granted with the opportunity to play basketball and being blessed with an amazing talent that God gave me, I was able to earn a scholarship to the University of Tulsa. Okay. So that's where I played at the collegiate level, women's basketball, for 4 years. And then after graduating college, I kind of took a break because at that time, you know, I did not further my opportunities with playing basketball. So I kind of took a break to figure out, you know, what it is that I really want to do. So outside of that break, I took a break from, you know, just playing around and playing competitive for about 3 years. Okay. And then I missed it. I missed it so much. So I did some reflecting as far as, you know, at a point in time, this sport was a sport that kept me focused. It kept me out of trouble. It kept me healthy. It kept me disciplined. So the structure of this sport, it is such a big part of who I am. And I know that a lot of people from my high school was feeling that way. Okay. And a lot of those guys were not granted the opportunity to further their career with basketball at the collegiate level. So when you graduate from high school, it's like life hits, reality hit. And unfortunately, where I come from, you end up 3 places: dead, in jail, or selling drugs on the block. So a lot of those people, they fell into that route. You know what I'm saying? But as I mentioned previously, basketball, it's a disciplined sport. So while you're in high school, a lot of these players were disciplined. But the sad fact of reality out of high school,
The discipline was lost.
it was lost. So I came up with the idea, just seeing a lot of these seeing a lot of these people be re-entered back into society from incarceration.
So you knew that some of that it actually occurred.
The beautiful thing with social media, we stay up to date with a lot of things and a lot of people within our lives. So I thought this would be a great idea. I was like, okay, I love basketball again. I want to do it. And I think it'll be a great opportunity to bring these people back together who had such a strong passion for it. Let's see if it's still there. So I reached out to a lot of people and it was still there. We were able to get 8 teams, 64 people, and it was an amazing crowd. So it was the first for Western Heights High School, but it was an awesome turnout. So I plan to do something like this annually, while also wanting to get on the association board as far as being a middle school coach at Western Heights High School. So that's just a small part of me giving back to a place where I come from.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. You approached the administrators of the high school and they were all for it.
Oh, yes.
And for you to have 64 players, that's amazing.
Oh, it was a beautiful experience.
That's right.
People was excited to see each other because you have some people who hadn't seen each other in 10 years and 20 years. Like I told you, we had alumni dating back from 2003 all the way to the new era of 2022. So it was a lot of reconnecting, a lot of hugs, a lot of laughs. It was just a lot of love. It was beautiful. It was
great.
beautiful.
I love it. I love it. You have that passion of just bringing people together, which I think is what's going to catapult you into your vision here. Yes. of developing this mini mart. Now you graduated from Tulsa University with what was your degrees in?
So my major was in communications and I had a minor in deaf education.
Okay. All right. And what brought about that desire to major in deaf education? I really...
So when choosing a minor, we had to choose from, I believe there were 3 different choices that I had at the time. It was French, there was Spanish, and then there was deaf education, American Sign Language. I had taken Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 in high school. So kind of thinking of it, I was like, I've already done this before. So it was between French and deaf education. French, I had asked around. I was like, what do you guys think about French? And then we had I forgot what we used to call it. She's kind of like a mentor. She's like our mentor. Then I asked her about French. She was like, French is a beautiful language, but it is kind of tough. So I think when she said tough, in that moment, it kind of psyched me out. Yeah. And then I believe at that time I did some research about deaf education, and we also had some hard of hearing students on campus. And it was always wanting to get to know, like, what are they saying or what are they doing?
It's a beautiful language.
And it just, at the time, it looked so cool when they're signing. I was just like, they're so passionate into what they're saying, and to not be able to use your voice in the way that some probably want to, or how the general public typically uses our voice. It's so beautiful how they're able to communicate with each other. And I wanted to be a part of that, although there is this little thing. They had people who really don't speak sign language. At that time, this was between 2015, 2016, it was frowned upon. If you don't speak sign language, they're very critical of the way you sign. It's kind of like they're their own entity. Okay. So it was kind of frowned upon. So I wanted to be the best at it. So I took ASL 1, ASL 2, ASL 3, ASL 4. I really wanted to equip myself and be a part
of the community.
Yes, I did.
Right.
Yes, I did. So we did a lot of things as far as volunteering at elementary schools, because of course, you have hard of hearing students, teenagers and adults. So it was a beautiful language, and just not necessarily hearing, but just seeing them so passionate and wanting to do something so bad. And you will see some of these people telling the story. If you can understand what they're saying, it's
Well, I think a lot of
beautiful.
people saw how beautiful the language is during the Super Bowl. I mean, the young lady who signed she was just amazing. Yes, she was. And so it is a beautiful language. And listening to you, again, that is another component of just knowing where you're wanting to go, how you got involved in learning the language, and knowing and understanding what it's about in the community. I think that is really going to catapult you into, again, your vision of Net's Mini Mart.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Net's Mini Market. So let's talk about that. What is this? What is it that you're wanting to do, and where are you trying to go from here to get there?
Yes, so Net's Mini Market, for those of you who do not know, we are a community wellness company who focuses on bringing healthier food options to the community. Now, this is a project that I started in 2020 when COVID very first took place, or it was at the peak of, it was at the spike. And at this time, I was employed at Planet Fitness. I was the club manager there. I was employed at Planet Fitness for 7 years. That was going on my 7th year that October. And a lot was happening at that time because of COVID. You had spiking prices. You had people suffering of food insecurity. Those who were you had people being furloughed from those jobs and people losing those jobs, and unemployment had hit a spike. So there was a lot that was going on at that time. And back then I was so involved into my work where I would kind of disconnect the outside world. It was just work. I would work all the time. So being furloughed, I mentioned out there, sometimes we have to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I was forced to sit still. And during that time of sitting still, I had the opportunity to see what was going on around me so close to home. Okay. So during this time, I would spend a lot of time with my grandmother, who lives within the food desert community, who is a part of that underserved community.
And this is Northeast Oklahoma City.
This is Northeast Oklahoma City. So, just being dissatisfied with reality and always having that strong need to wanting to help. Like I said, I was just dissatisfied, and I wanted to do something to help, because it was not just only my grandmother. It was the community. It was the community around her. It was other elderly people. There was children. You know what I'm saying? At this time, I had a nephew who lived with my grandmother. So it wasn't only her who was, facing these battles. It was other people. But thank God for COVID. It hit so close to home to where I was able to sit down and say, I want to do this. You know what I'm saying? So I resigned from my corporate job, and I decided to give Net's Mini Market 110% of my attention.
What made you decide to do a mini market versus something else?
Yeah, so during this time, I was also, like I said, I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house, and she used to tell me a lot of stories about what the northeast side of Oklahoma City used to look like when she grew up. So at this time, I mean, back in her time, she's seen a lot of juice shops, bodegas, uh, doctors' offices, barbershops. It was just a thriving community.
Okay. And what area are you talking about?
The Northeast 4th Street area, or you can go as far up as 23rd area. At this time, it was a thriving community, but specifically at the time that she's speaking about, it was Northeast 2nd Street all the way up to about Northeast 8th Street. Okay. So there was just a lot of thriving Black-owned businesses at that time. Well, if you go into those communities now, you see nothing like that, at least within this area, within the Lower East Side of Oklahoma City. So right next to her house, there's this building. And we were walking one day. My grandma, she takes a lot of walks around her neighborhood. It's quiet. There was this market. It was called M&M Mart. And I asked her, I said, well, what did this used to be? She said, yeah, and this used to be a grocery store. And I was like, this used to be a grocery store and nobody has thought of placing a grocery store within this food desert area. No one has thought of this. Mm-hmm. Boom. So the light hit. Okay. I didn't even tell her that it hit. I was just listening to her. I went home. I have this orange notebook and I started down writing all these notes. I first got to writing down the logo. I'm a picture person first. What would this look like? So I wrote down the picture. I did a lot of writing. I did some research to see what was free and accessible for small business entrepreneurs. What do I need? Because this is my first time as far as betting on myself. Okay. When it comes to running a business, I did that with Planet Fitness for almost 7 years, but that was running someone else's business. So what would it look like to run my own business? Connected with Scora and the SBA and doing all these things. And they helped me create a business plan. I had to do a lot of research when it comes to, and it's still an ongoing process when it comes to how many people are you wanting to serve. Is a grocery store able to sustain within this community? Because when you're talking about a food desert community, you can't just bring a grocery store within this community without knowing their financial capabilities, because otherwise that grocery store won't last. And we've seen that disappointment within the East Side several times. They previously had a grocery store on Northeast 2nd Street. And something that I've learned about the Northeast community, when you actually do not take the time to get to know what it is that your neighbors want, your business will struggle. So you have to take that time to knock on those doors and ask, what is it that you would like to see within this community? Because you're talking to a community of 45 to 72-year-old women and men who has ownership. So they've been here for a while. They've seen the flips, the ups and downs and turns of this community. These are the people that you're wanting to serve. So you have to be intentional with knocking on their door, shaking their hand. Hello, I'm Antoinet. I'm the founder of Nets Mini Market. I want to start an institution within this community. How can I help? What is it that you want to see? So it was a lot of those conversations. It was a lot of...
How's the support been within the community? How have they responded to that?
To the Lower East Side, it's been really great support from the Harrison and Walnut community. Those are neighbors of the community that I've met with a lot. I think over the time from 2020 up until now, everyone loves the idea and they're supportive. They're on board. They see the vision. They see the need. Okay. And because the community is growing, it's a community that the city and I think people overall want to invest back into. So there's an increase within population. So the support is there. And I think what I'm lacking right now is the financial capabilities. So as I mentioned to you, I am trying to find public and private partnerships to help, or like-minded individuals, whether that's an investor, an silent investor, someone of like minds who is wanting to see the benefits of Nets Mini Market within a thriving community. So I think that's where we are right now. As I mentioned, it's still an ongoing process. There's so many resources, but there's so much to do, and so many more relationships to build to make this, I think, a successful launch and a successful process. And
now you say we, so you have people that are actually working with you through this process?
Not consistently. I've met with Miss Hernandez. She is the senator of. This is going to kick my butt, but I met with her at the Asian Breaking Bread community, and she's connected me with Miss Valerie McCurry, who is she does a lot of work with Metro Tech, and she's involved with nonprofits. So there's a lot of meetings that I've had, but no meeting at this time has stuck. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It's very brief meetings. So I think at this time of my life, it's just being intentional with having meetings and allowing those meetings to stick so we can continuously have follow-ups that can lead to something greater, because this is not a project that I want to just continue to linger on and then you have someone come in and start a grocery store. It's something that I want to be proactive and happen as soon as possible, if it can, early within the 2024 era. But
now, I know that they are doing a lot of work down in that area. Have you spoke with people that are doing some development down there? I know there's incubators and empowerment district. They talk about the empowerment district. Have you spoken with some of those people to kind of get some ideas or find out what can be done, how they can assist you in
Yes. So as you mentioned, it is a thriving community, so it is growing at this time. And in 2022 to 2023, I had the opportunity to meet with the project developers of the Page Woodson project that is currently taking place on the Northeast 4th Street area. And the beautiful thing about what they're bringing to the community is, one, they're bringing more housing, and they're also bringing more retail. Well, they're bringing retail because we don't have any retail at all when it comes to the lower quadrant. So what they're building is a live workspace, and I was able to have the opportunity to be granted with the space at that time. When I was speaking with them, I was able to be granted with a space of, it was about 600 square footage to about 800 square footage for a mini market. Okay. At that time, I was still seeing a bigger vision for Ned's Mini Market. I wanted to be an actual, not necessarily a full service grocery store, but just a little bit smaller than the market at East Point. That's a 7,000 square footage building. The building that I am currently seeking is 3,000 square footage. And I think from a longevity point of view, I eventually do want to seek ownership. And I think when it comes to just a long-term goal, I don't think at this time that's the best decision. But at the end of the day, it is an option. So if the time is right and that is an option and I have to, or I choose to go that route, I'm grateful that it is an opportunity. So it's still an opportunity. I just haven't been set on the decision at this time, but it's definitely an opportunity.
Have you spoken with the owners of the building that you're having?
Oh, yeah. Yes. So I've spoken with the owners of both opportunities that I have. Both are on board. It's just with one who has he's a private landowner, and specifically with that building, I have to raise the funds myself. So, of course, he would do his part when it comes to renovation because it is his building ultimately, and it's not for sale, it's for lease. So he would still have to do his due diligence with the preparation of that building. We were able to get a slight letter of intent, And then I've also spoken with the project developers of the Paige Woodson project, and they're very supportive as well. They have a lot of financial connections and resources as well to get the opportunity in line. There's a lot of limitations with both. You just have to strategically weigh your options. And I think with this being my first time within the entrepreneurship, I think I just want to do everything strategically because I'm talking about laying my life foundation. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's just I want to be very cautious when it comes to signing any lease or anything because
and that's right to do.
I've heard some stories about, first time entrepreneurs and they get themselves into these bonds and their business don't even last. And 3 years later, they're in debt that they can't get out of. And I do not want to be a part of that at all.
A couple of months ago, I had a lady on the podcast. She is the business manager or manager of some sort for REI Women's Business. Have you heard of them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you have some connections with them and have you kind of spoken with them to kind of get some ideas? They're very, very supportive in regarding assisting women who are wanting to start up businesses.
Yeah. So REI, I've met them. It was about 2 years ago also. And even recently last year when they launched it was a grant program for first-time entrepreneurs, small businesses, startup businesses. And when it comes to their loan process, because initially what I was trying to do, and I think I'm still trying to do because it is an option, was go the loan route. And so the total cost for the startup of Nets Mini Market is $260,000. With most financial entities, they are wanting from anywhere from the 10% or the 20% of the down payment. At that time, and still to this time, I do not have that 10% nor that 20%. So it's doing a crowdfunding. I've done one funding in 2020, and I was able to raise $6,000 in, I believe, 2 months. So we're still sitting on that. So I still have a little bit more raising to do, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that raising rather than pulling from a community who does not have it and just trying to figure out what's the best financial route. What is the best way to do a crowd funding raising?
Okay. So for people who may be listening, as someone that may have some ideas or may have some resources for you, how can they get in contact with you to let you know what they know?
Yeah, so a couple of different ways that people can get in contact with me. It's one through social media. You can follow me at Nets Mini Market on Facebook. www.netsminimarket.com. Through Safari, you can search it, or my Gmail is netsminimarket@gmail.com, or my direct phone number is 405-982-0052.
Okay. All right. So hopefully, there's people out there, and there's lots of people that have business minds and know of resources that will hopefully contact you and say, hey, here's some resources, here's some information for you.
And I think with entrepreneurs too, everyone has been in this situation at a point in time. The people who are currently within entrepreneurship and have their own businesses, at a point in time, they were just like me. It was once just an idea. So, at this time of my life, I am forced to be still, but that doesn't mean counterproductive. There you go. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely, there's a lot of things I have to be strategic in the conversations that I have, and I have to be cautious in the type of conversations that I have with people. it's forcing me to be more aware because it is a beautiful idea and there is a lot of excitement that comes about it, where I have to be very cautious because I fell into a lot of situations early on that was not in my best interest. So it's learning from those and, just being very mindful when having conversations with different people about what it is you want to do.
Well, I tell you, I follow you and I look at your post and you can see the passion even in your post. And that, like I said, you're talking about the things that you've done through the high school alumni, the passion there, the passion that you had with learning ASL. And so this passion is continuing and I hear it and it is very evident. And so I believe in you and I believe it's going to do well.
Thank you, Miss Alicia.
And so whatever we can do, and hopefully people will reach out to you, whatever I can do to provide resources or whatever information and, whatever, I can do to kind of assist you in this process. I want to be able to be there for you. Again, you all heard her information, AnnetteMinimart.com, correct? And you can find her on Facebook. And she did provide her phone number as well. If you want to do that again, please do so.
Be encouraged and be ready to be inspired with better ways to eat and better ways to hydrate yourself and ultimately just be prepared to be encouraged.
Do you sell any of your smoothies that you post? I mean, they look so good.
You're not the first person who asked me about that. I do not. I think I just use that solely. I use it solely for advertisement. Now, I do believe if the demand was high enough, then yes, I would. But I think at this time, I think everything I do is solely for content purposes and advertisement. Because my whole concept behind it is to draw the people into what it is that I want to do. Then once the market get here, we may have a 10 by 10 square footage space that sells smoothies or that sell prepared meals. And you were able to see it first on Facebook because I advertised it 2 years ago rather than you just now finding out about it. So I think right now the intention
is very eye-catching.
It's just to draw the people in because, when you're a small business owner, you pretty much have to do everything by yourself anyway when it comes to marketing, advertisement, meetings, all these other things just initially. So this is just me getting my feet wet.
All right. Well, I think they're wet. They're wet. You're doing well. You're doing well in the water.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening and joining me on the porch. Remember to take time to reflect, share memories, and engage with others on your porch. And I'll meet you here next time on The Porch, your podcast for community conversations. Brought to you by the Possibilities Podcast platform.